Okay, today we're going to paint a little dragon, and I'm going to trim him up first. The more that a mold gets used, the more it has little tears in it, and this one has been used quite a bit. I think it's approaching like 100 different replicates. And so it has, I don't know if you can see this, but it has, let me see if I can get in here really close. It has things like that. So, and little fill-ins behind the ear where this mold's poured like this, and when I pull it out, these horns catch. So I'm just going to go in here with the X-Acto knife and trim this up a little bit and get that out of the way, and maybe trim that little knot or whatever it is behind the ear out of the way. Then we'll check it for the rest of the item, and I'm going to sharpen up these toenails here, make sure there's no webbing in between them. There is a little bit, but just trying to get them a little bit more defined. Anywhere where you see a little anomaly, that's where you want to be. Alright, so that's good enough. Alright, the first color that we're going to put on here is this navy blue. Anita's all-purpose acrylic craft paint. It's just an acrylic paint. I have some in there, but I'm going to fill it on up. About right there, because I have a lot of painting to do. And I'm just going to get a really old crappy brush here. You can see that it's not very good. It's fraying out, but it'll serve my purpose. And this just gets all everywhere. Now this, to fill you in here, this already has a primer of black paint on it. The resin is black, and then it has a primer of black paint. So the black paint gives it a little bit of a tooth that other paints can cling on to, and that's really what you want. You want to make sure that it's not going to just, like if you paint it onto a slick surface. Make sure that I've got my mic down here close enough. If you were painting onto a slick surface, it would just kind of, after it dried, you could just scuff it off really easily. And you want to make this is not exactly a slick surface, but it is a resin, a plastic, and so you want to make sure that there's a tooth that's really clinging to the plastic and uniform all throughout. So normally the way I would do this is I would have a bunch of these lined up, and I would coat them, and then they would, number 10 over here would be drying while I'm painting the next one and in the series. And so that makes me a little faster when I'm doing this. But today I'm just doing one to show you how I do it, and discuss the paints and the ins and outs of doing this. Alright, so I'm going to accelerate the drying process by going with a hair dryer, so there's going to be a noise coming. Alright, so the next paint up is a metallic blue, which is this paint right here, Dazzling Metallics Ice Blue. And I'm a big fan of these metallic colors. I see something I should have trimmed off a little bit more on this side. This won't hurt it. We'll be going back and touching this up anyway. All right. There's some in there, but I want to put a little bit more. Now, whether I'm painting this in a burnished metal blue or finishing it off in a metallic green, the process at this stage is both the same. So I've kind of rinsed off my brush. I don't know if I want to paint with that big brush. I think I'll leave it out and go with a smaller brush. I don't necessarily want to drive it down into the crevices, so I want some of that navy blue to show through, and that gives it a little bit more definition. So I might go over the, if the green is running this way, I might go this way to get the differences. I'm not really concerned with 100% coverage, like I say. I just want to get that blue look on there with some definition onto the sculpt itself. See how that brings it out? These little bumpies down there. Now we're going to do something more with those bumpies later, but okay. You can see where my fingerprints went when I was holding that thing. Now we'll go ahead and cover those horns. And sometimes I like to leave the horns in a black paint. Okay. So that's done. Okay, the next step is a lighter blue. And for that we are going to use, let's see, what is that color? Here it is. Deco Art Dazzling Metallic Peacock Pearl. Now this is really similar to teal, but you can see that there's a slight difference. The teal might be a little bit more rich. You could use it, I guess, but I kind of want to use this Peacock Pearl here. And I think I have enough in there already for our purposes. Yeah, plenty. Now, on this one, I'm just thinking, where do I want to pull some highlights? So I'm going to paint this part back here purple and this part here purple, but on the tips of the wings and possibly on the nose and under the neck, I want to be a little lighter. So here we go. Subtle. It's not very, and I just want, I might start heavy here, but I want to get fainter as I go out. So I'm kind of holding the brush at a side angle and Just putting enough on there and letting it run out as it goes back. And make sure you get underneath that wing like that. And some underneath this wing here like that. And you can take your finger and smear it a little bit if you want. If you prefer not getting paint on your hands, which I can understand that, you can wear gloves. Nitrile gloves would be a good choice. Getting some on those toes down there, I didn't want that. Okay, so that's enough of that. Move on to the next paint. Which is going to be this, it's going to be this, what is it called? It's a, oh, wrong side. Dioxane purple. And it's combined about 50-50 with Anita's all-purpose amethyst, metallic amethyst paint. About 50-50. So it's already mixed up for me. I've already got it in here. There's a slight metallic feel to it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, let's see if we can get this a little bit more in the camera picture. And I'm going to paint the edges of the wing, and I want to fade it in. I don't want a drastic cut there. I want, so going up and lighting up the brush as you go. Just let it run out of paint. And some on these paws down here. Now you don't want to do, you want to do it in this order that I'm doing it, because one paint complements or influences the next paint. Yeah, influences would be the right word, I think. Or there might be a more precise term. I didn't go to school. I'm self-taught, so don't know those terms. Okay, and then I'm going to put a little bit on his horns up here. I want to keep some of that blue though. And then his spine, or whatever these things are called. And maybe a little bit around the back of his neck here, and fading down into it. Yeah, kind of like that. All right. And you notice I'm not really, I mean, this paint dries fairly fast, but I'm not waiting for it to dry completely before I'm going on to the next one, because I kind of like the blend effect. All right, the next color is, this dazzling metallic royal ruby. It's a coppery color, but it's redder than the copper one. So I always use this royal ruby. I don't like the copper so much. Alright, so I already have that in my little container. Yeah, I think that's probably enough. And I'm just going to go, I want to keep some of the purple. I don't want any lines, don't get it, so you want to continual blend. See, that's too much of a line there, but keep going, come back to it. Blend it in. And somebody's paws there. And we're quickly coming down to the end of the painting with this. So the next color that we're going to use is this Nita's all-purpose metallic bronze. I suppose there's a dazzling metallic bronze that is available too, so you could try that. This assortment of paint that I've kind of gravitated to over the years is working for me. Alright, so now I definitely don't want to copper up all my copper, but I wanted to come through and just kind of get the spine really tight in there. Just enough to lighten it up. That's got a little bit of blend there. This is probably very subtle looking on the camera, but that's one of the problems, is trying to photograph this stuff so that it actually shows up. One of the things I've noticed is that as I've sculpted on in ZBrush and 3D printed some things, the detail that I'm able to get from ZBrush is greater than I can get with my hand, and that slows down the painting process once you get it into the painting process, because the detail is so overly rich. Okay, so I need a smaller brush than this big thing for the next step. We'll go with this one. This one's getting a little bit beyond its usefulness because it's fraying out at the end, but it'll probably be alright. Now this one I want to load up the brush pretty good and cover those little dots. There are little bumps on his backside here. That makes him look like a fawn. Okay, and then here on the backside here too. And we'll pretend like one's there. And then there's two right here in his shoulder. Three up here by his neck. And then some more on his right shoulder here. Okay. Now the only thing left to do on this guy is to get his black eyes. Using that same smaller brush. And I'm going to come down here and paint his toenails too. All right, he's done. That's the blue.